this.
Yeah.
Make sure I'm recording it. We are now recording. We're calling this meeting to order for the Gardner Elementary School Finance Subcommittee. Dr. Hemming, would you mind please calling the roll?
Dr. Pellegrino,
Present.
Wayne Anderson,
Present.
Bob Hankinson, don't see, Jennifer Flavin,
Present.
Bob Schwartz,
Present.
Mark Hawk,
Present.
Josh Cormier, you're here. Thank you. We have a quorum, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. First thing on the first thing on the agenda is,
We have no minutes.
what's that?
We have no minutes for this, at this point. The next thing we'd go to is bills, and the only bills we have is from Colliers.
And how much is that for?
$8,430.12.
Okay. Do we just need a motion to approve this?
Yes.
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you. Dr. Hemming, would you mind please calling the, any discussion on the motion? No, hearing no discussion, let's put the matter to roll call vote. Dr. Hemming?
Dr. Pellegrino,
Yes.
Wayne Anderson,
Yes.
Jennifer Flavin,
Yes.
Bob Schwartz,
Yes.
Mark Hawk,
Yes.
Josh Cormier.
Yes.
It is a vote, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Is there anything else that we need to have on the agenda for today?
Yes, there are. I think we need to go to the OPM. Is Tim on? Is he coming on? I don't see him. He was going to at least talk about whether we are on budget. If he comes in, we'll get him. Otherwise, we need to go to the architects. He has some PCOs to discuss.
Okay.
Great. Yeah. There was no bill from GWA for that past month, and then also from Bacon. We were a bit surprised about Bacon. I don't know if it's because Shirley is kind of wrapping things up and passing things over to Joe, but they are going to wrap their June services in with their July, and so we'll get their pencil rec at the beginning of August, and we'll have to try to approve that at our August meeting. So the only thing to go over is the notes on select PCOs. I'll share screen here. Oh, Mark, maybe I need permission.
Should be able to do it now.
Perfect, thank you. This is what was sent out earlier. Is everyone seeing that okay?
Yep.
Great. So just 4 to go over today. And the last one is really, we've just got it recently and is a holding process, but just go through them in order. So 419 is a modification to the front canopy. We have kind of an angled portion of it on the right side as you're coming into the school. And we noticed over the winter that there was dripping happening there. And that's just because the slope of the canopy is so minimal that as that snow was melting, it was dripping over the edge. So this is to construct a little bit of a dam at the end of that angled portion to combat that. That's for 7,107. 426 is a request from the district to look at kind of modifying the drainage out of the canopies. And so basically some testing needs to be done before we can do that modification. And so this is to temporarily plug and flood the canopy so that we can determine if we can kind of stop up one of the drainage points at the bottom of the canopy and redirect the water to another one further to the north. 436 was a request to revise the grading at the Catherine Street sign. It's kind of right on the edge of a hillside there, and it's a little bit more complicated because it's right on the edge of our wetlands setback requirements. And so to regrade in that area is a little bit more tricky than one would think, but with the movement of a little bit of stones, we think that we can regrade to cover up the base of that foundations of that sign. That's for 5,235. 437 is the largest one on here. This is for additional sensors and connection points on the AON units. So these are the rooftop units, HVAC units up on the roof. And this one is definitely still in review. Basically, the commissioning agent was looking for a lot of data and kept asking Bacon for that data. That process lasted for a very, very long time. And I think finally, Bacon and their sub-consultants realized that the AON units don't have those specific sensors and points that the commissioning agent was asking for. So they've submitted this PCO for 25,550. Our mechanical engineers are taking a look at it right now to make sure that all of these sensors are actually needed. I'm also asking Wayne to give a quick look at this, although if you don't have any opinion, Wayne, that is definitely fine as well. But we're also trying to follow up with the commissioning agent just to make sure that you know, all of this is necessary and is actually helpful to the district in the long run. So some review needed on this one. So we're asking for an approval at a not to exceed of the current amount of 25,550. Any questions on those?
Yes, I do. On 419, $7,000 to add a piece of metal to the canopy? Really?
Yeah.
I could do it for 50 bucks.
I agree, Bob. It's difficult because these are, you know, these are pre-engineered and coming from that one manufacturer. So they're coming out here. It is quite a distance because it's at that angle and they're slipping it in under. So I think there is some amount of rework that they have to do to the existing canopy to get it up there. But that was the price.
We talk about the canopy on the front of the school, right?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay. Wow. And the revised grading, shouldn't that have been discovered at the beginning when the sign was being built and the grading done for finishing?
Yeah, I think it became apparent just as the project was wrapping up. And I think everyone thought that more grading was happening over in that area. And it wasn't until we looked at it in detail and realized quite how close that the wetlands boundary was. And that's when that issue became apparent.
Question on that same sign question. Who deemed it unacceptable? Was it us?
Yes.
Okay.
And then on 437, the additional sensors, wasn't that all part of the original contract or somebody's oversight that just didn't catch it?
That's what we're trying to figure out, Bob, because these have been a substitution from the very beginning, which has, you know, they're allowed to do contractually, but it just has made our lives quite difficult throughout the whole process. Certainly many sensors and connection points were required as part of the contract documents, and many are taking into account. It's really some specifics that the commissioning agent in particular has been looking into. And so we just need to iron out, one, are those really necessary? Two, were they supposed to provide them in the contract documents? And how can we kind of work around these AON units that were substituted and came in on the project?
So the 25K is for just in case they do need them and they were not in the bid documents.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah, and I will quickly review that to see if we
Okay.
actually need to be monitoring those points.
What kind of data points are we looking for? Someone, can you explain that in plain English?
I do not know what they're adding for data points on this, but some of these systems can get pretty deep with the data collection.
So Bob, for instance, I'm just looking into some of my background emails here. So one of the additional points that this change order includes is a supply fan speed monitoring. And so our mechanical engineers have just started looking into this, but their initial input is that they think that that there is a fan speed input native to the AON unit, and that might be acceptable. So they might not need this additional supply fan speed monitoring that the commissioning agent is looking for. So it's that
Okay.
type of back and forth that we need to go through to make sure, you know, are the native controls on the AON unit okay and okay for the commissioning agent. So we need to set up a meeting with both the commissioning agent and our mechanical engineers to really go through this and make sure that all the stuff that they think is needed is truly needed.
To
So
find
does
a- Go ahead, Jennifer.
I was going to ask, does the commissioning agent have to okay everything at the end?
No, and that's the other thing, right? And they're not paid by you guys, they're not paid by us, they're not paid by Colliers. So it's always a little bit difficult because they're paid by the MSBA. And so their input is great because they're a neutral party to the whole system. But usually they're quite reasonable. So I mean, I think it's just helpful to have that check. But if they, in all my past experiences, if they've come in and they say, oh, you know, we think this is a good idea, but your mechanical engineer thinks it's not necessarily, then they, you know, they back off, and whoever's stamping the drawings, of course, has the final say.
Okay.
So the 25K is to buy all of the relays and switches and whatever in case we really need it.
As well as pulling the wire and all of the.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Somehow I think we're being snookered, but
I'll make a motion to approve it for a total of 42,715.
reluctantly I'll second it.
Any discussion on the motion? All right, hearing
Just
none.
one question.
Yep,
This is not to exceed 42,715, right?
yep,
Okay, thank you.
yeah, that was the motion made. Okay, any other questions? All right, hearing none, let's put the matter to a roll call vote. Dr. Hammond?
Dr. Pellegrino,
Yes.
Wayne Anderson,
Yes,
Robert Hankinson. I'm sorry he's not here. Jennifer Plavin,
Yes.
Bob Schwartz,
Yes,
Mark Hawk,
Yes,
Josh Cormier.
Yes,
Yeah, it is a vote, Mr. Chairman.
Excellent. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yeah,
I
on,
went by your office. I didn't see any cars. Can I assume that you are now at Elm Street?
yes, we are,
Oh.
that's why I had technical difficulties.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so, anything else, Christian?
That's it from my end. Thank you.
Excellent. Mr. Alex has joined us.
Yep, sorry, everybody. I was working on something. I lost track of time.
No
Tim,
worries.
it would be going over the budget.
Yeah, I'll pull up the, here we go. Let me
it's good to
share
see
my
that
screen.
you got the flowers I sent you, Tim. They look nice.
Okay, so, can you see the spreadsheet here?
Yep.
Yes,
Yep,
Okay, so again, column A is our budget. And we go through is what we've been approved for spending to date, what's been contracted. And really what we've been focusing on is two columns on the right-hand side. What we see is eligible for project costs for the MSBA reimbursement, and then what that reimbursement would be. And just to scroll down to the bottom, again, our budget just over 82 million. We've approved spending of 76.5 million. Of the total contracted amount, 78. So we're nearing that end mark. But of the 76.5 that's been approved, we anticipated just under 58 million would be eligible for reimbursement. And then based on the city's reimbursement rate, that would be a reimbursement to the city of 46,300,000. So we're doing well on the finances thing. Their reimbursements have been coming in. I don't think we've submitted in a little bit, so we're probably overdue to submit the next round, but so without Bacon submitting a request for payment this month, there isn't a whole lot there. So we'll make sure we get that into the next month and we can update what we've received to date. Any questions on the finances or how we're doing on the project?
No. Glad everyone's getting paid
Yeah, basically.
and we're getting some money back too.
Yeah, I mean, with the reimbursement rate of about 80%, you're doing really well. So if you look at it, you've spent 76.5 million, but then you got a check back for 46 million. So
Yeah.
you know, you're only a net of about 30 million to the city.
Well, that's good.
Okay. Anything else, Jim, you want to go over?
No, not really. I think you know, that Christian had gone through the changes, so that was really the big thing we wanted to talk about today.
The contractors at the school now,
I'm sorry?
are they working at the school now?
They are. They're doing a number of different things, prepping for the added parking areas in the
Okay.
parking lot.
Yeah.
They've also prepping the playgrounds to receive the sub base and then the rubber play surface area.
Yeah.
There's been doing some casework modifications just to beef them up a little bit, and then they're getting ready. They're supposed to get a delivery today, actually, of all the diffuser covers that cover all the ductwork in the classrooms. And then coming up in later July, we're expecting that the window contractor will be in to put in a storefront system on the third floor of the A wing. That's where there's a railing that there was concern about the flex that the railing had in it. So we're putting in a beefier storefront system that goes up higher just for kind of a added measure of safety. But so that's going to be going in later this month. So we did have a meeting this morning. There's a lot of stuff going on. Some of the planting will continue into the planting season, which begins in mid-August, but obviously mid-August can still be very hot. So this summer has been unusual. Hopefully we'll have some cooler nights and be able to plant and get some growth established. We did talk to the contractor about maintenance of the planted areas, that there's a lot of weeds coming up, and they're responsible for maintaining it, and it's not being done. So we've asked them to provide a plan on how they're going to address that.
Thank you. Thank you, Tim.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Any other questions for Tim? All right, hearing none. We can move on to old business. No, looks like no old business or new business or other business, correct?
None, not at this point, Mr. Chairman.
Fabulous. Public comment, Mr. Rockwood, anything?
Yes, a couple of things. I've seen Fuss and O'Neill at the Conservation Commission regarding some wetlands replication. Has there been any follow-up to either Jones Whitson or Colliers regarding that?
Yeah, we actually just had Amy emailed me after that meeting with a summary, but she was also at our owner, architect, contractor meeting this morning. And we reviewed it with Bacon in attendance, so that was great. But she's getting something formal to issue on Procore so that you know, the contractor can make sure to meet all of the requirements there. But we went through issues such as, you know, not hydro seeding that area. They want it hand seeded because the hydro seed can have different contaminants in it. So they want to make sure that that doesn't happen in that area, and that the weeding has to happen mechanically. And some of those requirements that they were asking for, we'll make sure to push along and make sure that Bacon is aware of. But overall, it sounded like the meeting went very well, and they were happy with they had some questions on the elevation of that area, and that's been put to bed. They decided that the parking changes were not in their jurisdiction, so they don't have any comments on that change of scope. So overall, it sounds like the meeting went very well.
If we missed you at their last meeting, they were a lot less boisterous than the meeting that you attended. Basically, everything has been resolved. We're in constant communication with the agent and the commission, so everything has been resolved or in process of being resolved with them. It's just basically information gathering and making sure they have all the correct information.
That's good to hear. I did take a ride up around in front of the C building last week, and I noticed there's some kind of small maple trees kind of planted around the outside of the road and down the grade a bit. Those are, they're growing, but they're growing at funny angles at this point. Is there any plan to stake some of those so they're actually growing upright?
I think that's funny you mentioned that, Steve. I think I just saw a landscape report go by from our landscape architects. And I don't know if it was those trees in particular, but in the report that they sent, they were requesting that the trees be restaked. And they pointed the contractor towards the detail that they've included in the contract documents that show that they need to do that. So I'll make sure that it was those that you're talking about, but I'm pretty sure that might be the exact same issue.
I didn't take a ride around the whole property, but I came up around and just took a look there, looking for something else. I was kind of looking at the water and the basins, and that's well below what I expected, so that's great.
Great,
So we're not going to get overflow down the hill.
great.
And the last thing that came up was a question about the box culverts, whether the ground underneath those meets spec as far as the size of the rocks and things that are in there.
Talking the detention basin at
Well,
the
not the
top.
detention basin, but the actual culverts. So there's the one coming up the hill from Pearl Street. And then there's the one on the other side.
Right. I think there's even two, right, over by the Catherine Street.
Yeah, those you can't really see much unless you get out and really look. But the one on the Pearl Street side, coming down the back of my property, I can see it. And it just looks funny, whether the rocks are too big or what. I mean, there's some boulders in there. Good for hiding a bear, but I'm not sure it's good for what we're looking to have it do.
Talking the one as you're coming up from your house on the right-hand side of the top of the Pearl Street entrance.
It's the culvert down the bottom. Well, just as you start up the hill.
Okay, that's the one that goes underneath it, that
Right.
diverts the water, the intermittent stream from your property underneath the road into Stump Pond.
Trust me, it hasn't been intermittent this year.
Yes. I've seen it intermittent, but definitely not this year.
Yeah.
Definitely not this year.
And so, Steve, you just think the rocks underneath seem large and.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure it's going to be doing what it needs to be doing over time. And I think that's that's something for the wetland scientist, I think.
Yeah, let me talk to Fuss and O'Neill about that and get back to you.
Yeah, it's not
That's
something
a-
directly for Fuss and O'Neill, but for one of their subcontractors.
That the photo you posted on Facebook? One
No,
of
that
them.
wasn't why I posted it. Somebody
that
made a
was-
comment to me about it.
Yeah, I know
I
who.
figured I would
but-
bring it up.
No, I appreciate it. That's what I was referencing the photo because it's the same area, a photo that you posted, just to post photos saying there was nothing derogatory against us. And we appreciate your support throughout the whole lengthy process of this thing. And yeah, and keeping the public informed.
My preference is to get it right so that we don't have a problem 5 or 10 years down the line.
Right there with you.
Okay. Is that it, Mr. Rockwood?
Yeah,
I'll make a
that's it for
motion to
today.
adjourn.
Okay,
Thank you for the opportunity.
absolutely. I heard a motion to adjourn from Mr. Hawk. Do I hear a
A
second?
second.
Excellent, Ms. Blavin. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. This meeting is now adjourned. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks,
Thank you.
everybody.
Have a good night.
Appreciate it.